Hi everyone, it's Kelly from Kelly's Bead Boutique. So I was looking at the calendar the other day and realized, oh my gosh, we are only 2 months out from Christmas. Where did this year go? I would like a redo, please, because it's gone way too fast. Anyway, so I thought I better haul out some of the Christmas stuff and start making something a little bit different. So I have 3 projects for you today. One is kind of like a gift item, and then I've got 2 pairs of earrings. They're all kind of fun, super easy to do. Even a beginner can tackle these projects. So if you want to see what I'm making today, come and join me. Okay, so let's get started. So to make our little Christmas angel, I have some 22 gauge craft wire. I have one of these beautiful crystals that has the drill hole that goes this way, and this one is really faceted and it's quite big, so it makes a really good base for the angel. I also have a large bead cone. I have a pair of wings. I have a 12 millimeter Swarovski pearl. I have a little check glass sort of concave star here. One of our little crystal spacers and one of the little tiny hex nuts. And for our tools today, we're going to be using our chain nose pliers, our cutters, our bent chain nose pliers, and our round nose pliers. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut myself about 6 inches of wire. Now for this technique, you're not really going to see the wire at all inside. So if you're not proficient at this particular method, it doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that in, and I'm going to leave about 2 inches on one side and the rest on the next. So I'm going to pull that up and over, and then I'm going to pull the other one across too. So what I want to do is kind of crisscross them so that the where they actually do cross is right on top. Let's see if I can get there. So you can see that that cross is right on top of where the peak of the stone is. It's kind of important, otherwise your piece is going to tilt off, but you can always adjust this a little bit. So now I don't want to pull it down so tight that it's right on top like that, because if I do, you could crack the top of that crystal. Now again, you're not going to see it, but you don't want to crack it so much that you actually chip it right off and then are not able to use it. So I recommend going back about to here, just so we've got a little bit of working room. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to find where that middle part is, and I just kind of hold it with my finger so that I know where I'm going, and I'm going to go right across where that little bend is. So I'm just going, I don't know, I'll put the pliers right there so you can see. And then what I'm going to do is bend up, and that just creates a nice little bend so we know what we're working with here. So I'm going to straighten that out so that it makes sense for you guys. And then now I'm just going to wrap this around. So again, we're lucky on this one because it doesn't matter what it looks like because it's going to be covered. So what I'm going to do is, this is fairly malleable wire, so I'm just going to take it and bend it around like that. Just kind of get it started. And then I'm going to take my pliers and come in here. And again, you want to make sure that you're not hitting that crystal. And then I'm going to start wrapping it around. So we'll go this way to make it a little bit easier. So there we go. Just kind of wrap it around maybe 2 or 3 times. You just want to make sure that it's held in there nice and tight, and then we're just going to trim that off. Okay, now I just always tuck in my burrs, but there's absolutely no reason to on this one, but if you feel like it, you can. So now we just have our little wrap around there. So this doesn't have to be perfect, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this little bead cap and cover the whole thing up. And I love that part of it because we don't have to be perfect on this one, which is a really nice feature. Now I'm going to take my wings and place them on, and you want to make sure that you're going the right direction, not up like that. So you want to pop those on, and then we're going to put on our little Swarovski pearl here. These are so pretty. I didn't have any pearls that were inexpensive, so we're using Swarovski, but I think it adds a little bit of extra weight. Then we're going to also add our little star and our little spacer. So this kind of looks like a little crown on top of her head. So now we're going to put on our little spacer. The reason that I use this spacer is that this crystal has a bit of a divot in it, and it's really hard to make a wrapped loop when you're going down into that divot. So by popping that on there, it takes up that little bit of a divot and you don't see it at all. Now we're going to create a wrapped loop, and I want to turn the whole piece so that I'm working in this direction. So I'm just going to come down here and push that down because I want to make sure that's nice and snug. And I'm going to bend away, and then I'm going to take my round nose pliers And I do want to have a little bit bigger loop on here, and I'll show you in a bit why I'm going to. And now I'm going to go up and over and straight down. And now I'm going to open up my pliers and I'm going to make them parallel to the table. And I'm going to bring that little tail right to the back. And I'm just going to rotate this so that it's right on top there like that. Now we're going to take our chain nose pliers and go over top of the loop, and then I'm going to wrap this up. So now it's really hot in my workshop here today, so my hands are a little sweaty, so I'm going to use my tools. So I'm going to use my bent chain nose pliers, and I am going to wrap that 3 times, nice and neat. So we do want to be neat on this end, it just doesn't matter on the inside there. So now I'm going to take the tip of my cutters and get right in there nice and close and give that a little trim. So now you won't be able to feel this burr, but I can most definitely see it. So I'm going to come in and carefully just tuck that down and make it look all kind of pretty. Okay, so now we've got this looking really cute. I love this little angel. So we wanted something to put through here so that if you want to use it like a little ornament, you could. Now we didn't have a whole lot in the store that was red, but I did have this really yummy red suede. So I think that would be really cute in there. And all you're going to do is decide how long you want it and just make an overhand knot and just kind of pull that through, make it nice and neat, because we always want to have everything nice and neat. And then we're going to take our cutters and we're going to trim that off. There we have our little angel. I think she's absolutely adorable. This would make a really great little teacher's gift, or just if you're just looking for something to give someone that's kind of fun and full of the Christmas spirit, but super quick and easy to make. So that is our first project. Project is just a really simple pair of little earrings that are very Christmassy and festive and absolutely adorable. And I like that there's no color in them. They're just very sort of icy looking. So to make these earrings, we're going to be using some head pins and some ear wires. I've got some 8mm glass pearls, and I've got some little crystals here, little faceted teardrop type of crystals. And I also have some little bows, a couple more of those little faceted sort of hex nut things, and then another set of our little crystal spacers. To make these earrings, they could not be any faster. We're just going to take one of our head pins and we're going to put our little crystal on. You want to make sure that the point is going to the top, and then we're going to put on one of the little bows, and it just fits over top of there perfectly. And now we're going to put on the pearl, and then we're going to add the little spacer. So again, it kind of looks like a little Christmas angel, I think. And then we're going to put our little hex nut in there. So now again on this one, we're going to do a wrapped loop, and it doesn't matter which direction it goes because you can actually turn this one. So we're going to take our pliers and put it right on the top and push down a bit so that you make sure that you've got it nice and snug. And we want to use the very tip of our pliers because we don't want a really long neck on this. So now these head pins are really, really heavy duty. I don't know why they make them so heavy. It's just the supplier that I use. They're great to use, but they are a little on the hard side. So you want to make sure that you've got a good grip on your tools when you're using these head pins. And we'll make sure to give you extra head pins just in case you make a mess of one. So we're going to push away and make a nice sharp bend. Then we're going to change to our round nose pliers, and I'm going to come in sort of towards the end. I don't want to have a really big loop on this. And now I'm going to go up and over and down, open my pliers and rotate them until they're parallel to the table. Pull that straight to the back, and then have a look at it and make sure it's nice and straight, which it is. And now we're going to wrap this up. Now, there's no way that you're going to be able to wrap these with your fingers because they're so heavy duty and there's not a lot to grab onto. So I'm going to take the tip of the tool on the tip of the wire, and I'm going to lock that in there nice and tight. And I'm going to take it out of the plier when I come around so that it doesn't wrap up around on the plier. And I'm just going to keep working around. And you're probably only going to get 2 kicks at the can because I think these are more like a 20 gauge, so you don't need too many wraps. So now I'm going to use the very tip of my plier or my cutter, and I'm going to come in. And I always want to use my thumb on top of that. I know it's not great for demonstration purposes, but I don't want that little piece of wire flying out across the room here. Now I'm going to make sure that I hold on to the loop in my left hand so that I can get right on top of that little burr and just tuck it down. And then we're going to pop our ear wire on and tighten that up. So I'm just going to make the other one off camera and I'll be right back. Finishing up the second one, and I wanted to show a little tip. Now, when you're creating your wrapped loops, you can see that this is what I would call the good side. That's just what I've always called it, is the good side. If I turn it around, you can see that that's the back side, and it definitely does look different, and I don't think it looks as polished as the front. So you want to make sure that the front of your earrings always has the good side to it, towards you. It just looks a little nicer when it's in your ear. So then when I put my ear wire on, I'm just going to go in there and snug that up. And then now we have a nice look on the front. So there you go. There's our Christmas angel earrings. I think these ones are absolutely adorable, and they come together in no time flat. So that's project number 2. So let's move on to project number 3. Number 3, I think these ones are my favorite. They're so cute when they're done. We're going to be using a couple 4mm fire polish, some head pins, some 4mm Swarovski crystals, some faceted Chinese glass, a couple of 8mm pearls, some glass pearls, some ear wires, and again, we're going to be using these little crystal spacers. So to make these ones, you're going to take one of your head pins and one of your little fire polish, and we're going to just create a little wrapped loop. So again, we're going to go on top of the bead like that and push away. And we're going to be using our round nose pliers to create that loop. And I don't want a very big loop at all on these, very, very small. So I'm going to go up and over and down, rotate my pliers, and I'm going to make sure that that's nice and straight. So there's our first little loop. Now you don't want to wrap that up. We're just going to get these both ready. So I'm going to take my pliers, place them on, bend away, and make the beginnings of our wrapped loop. So we're just getting these all ready for the end. So you want to make sure you got a good hand grip when you're working with this heavy wire. Okay, so those are ready to go. We're also going to be using a little bit of 22 gauge wire. I forgot to mention that. So we're going to cut ourselves about probably 4 inches of wire. I'll make sure to give you enough wire in your kit so you'll have lots of extra wire. So now we're going to go down to about 1 inch and a bit from one end, and we're going to make a wrapped loop. So I'm going to bend away and make a nice size loop. So I'm going to go up on my pliers a little bit, up and over and down, rotate those pliers, bring that tail to the back, make sure it's nice and straight, and we're going to wrap that up. So just wrap it once, twice, and 3 times. Make sure that your wraps are nice and neat and tight and right stacked next to each other. And then we're going to come in with the flush side of our cutters, and we're going to give that a little trim. And now I want to tuck down that little burr. I can feel that in my fingers, so I want to make sure that I'm coming in with my pliers and giving that a nice little tuck. Now I'm going to put the little green crystal on, and then its little head, which again are the pearls. And now we're going to give it a little crown. And this one is going to look more like a little Santa hat, I guess, and that we're going to have our little crystal on the top. I think these are so much fun. So now I want to make sure that my loop that I'm going to put at the top is going the same direction as this one. So I want to turn it so that they're both going the same way. Now we're putting our tool against crystal, which is glass. So this, whether it's Swarovski or Preciosa or whatever kind you're using, it's all glass. So you want to make sure that you're careful when you're doing this. So I don't want to cram it down there, but I do want to be nice and tight so that I don't have a big long neck in there. So I'm going to bend away, and then I'm going to make a small loop on the top, go up and over and down, rotate, and bring that to the back. Now when I'm wrapping this up, I want to make sure that I'm very careful and that I'm not chipping off the top of that crystal. So you want to just kind of wiggle your wire in there. You don't want to over force it. So I'm going to just pull back a little bit because it was starting to wrap up on itself. So I don't want to have any extra wire showing there because it'll just force against that crystal and crack it. So now I want to be careful with the very, very tip of my pliers. I'm going to come in and just gently push that down. I don't want to push too hard because I could crack that crystal. So there we have that part made. Now we're going to put his little feet on. So I'm going to take one of the pieces I made before and I'm going to pop that on there. Now because these are really strong head pins, we're not going to go around too much. We're going to go once and then we're just going to go twice, and it will look like there's a bit of a gap, but it's safer to have a gap than to go tight to the bead, because you could crack this bead if you get too tight in there. So I'm now going to come in with the flush side of the cutters and give that a little trim. And then I want to just gently take my pliers and push that little burr down, but I don't want to be too close to that bead because I do not want to crack that bead. So there we go, and then I'm going to put on the next one. You might have to take that and just kind of separate it a little bit with your fingernail. Just pop that in, and again we're going to go across and wrap that around once, and then twice, and bring it to the back. And then we're going to take our cutters and we're going to go on with the flush side, give that a trim nice and close, and then we're going to tuck that little burr down. And just use the front of your pliers and go kind of carefully. So now I'm going to put on the ear wire, and I'll come in and then close that up nice and tight. So I'm just going to make the second one off camera, and I'll be right back. So there you go, there's our completed sets. I just love these ones. These ones are so cute when they're on because the little feet wiggle back and forth and have lots of movement. I love how icy, Christmassy these look, and I think this one would make the perfect gift for a teacher, a little stocking stuffer. You can hang it on your car so that you've got like a little bit of a prism, or in the window. You can use it as a Christmas ornament, all sorts of things. So I think you can have some fun with these ones. Now these ones will be available in kit form, and if you want to purchase your own kit, you just go into the drop down menu, which is just below my video, and there'll be a link to take you to my fully secure website. You won't have to buy these all three. They will be individual, so you can pick your own, and they'll all be very affordably priced. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give me a like. I really do appreciate it. If you have a comment, make sure to leave it below. I try to get back to everybody as soon as I can. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please make sure that you do so. I want to thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.